Okay, today our lesson is about exponents. Another name for exponent is power or index. Just namings. So exponent, it means repeated multiplication. So suppose I have 2 raised to the power 4. Always remember that the exponents are found on the upper right side of the number, and the bottom part we call it the base. Now, from the word basement, so it's the number that is down, okay? Now, so it means repeated multiplication. So the exponent tells me how many times should I factor the base, meaning how many times should I multiply the base by itself. So 2 raised to the power 4, this is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. Remember always that any 1 raised to the power of any number is always 1. Suppose I have 1 raised to the power 0. This is equals to 1. I'll explain why later. 1 raised to the power 2, this is equal to also 1 times 1, which is 1. And 1 raised to a negative exponent is also 1. Also, I'll explain this later. And when I have 0 now, 0, if it's raised to a positive power, the answer is 0. 0 raised to the power 1 is 0. 0 raised to the power 2 is 0. 0 raised to the power 100 is 0. Well, if I have 0 raised to the power 0, this is impossible, and I won't explain this today, but I'll explain it once we're almost done with the rules of exponents. And I'm gonna explain today why 0 raised to a negative exponent is impossible. And now let's suppose I have a positive exponent like 2. I want you to always pay attention to such examples where sometimes the negative is included. You're going to have parentheses here, while on the other side the 0 is not included. So let's solve this one. Minus 3, all of it raised to the power 2. This is equal to minus 3 times minus 3, which is plus, minus times minus is plus, and 3 times 3 is 9. But in the second example, if I have minus 3 to the raised to the power 2, here this exponent is only for the 3. So you're going to keep the minus, I don't work with it, or you can write minus 1 times this number, but I prefer this method. So you're going to keep the minus away. What's 3 raised to the power 2? It's 3 times 3, which is minus 9. Now, moving on to 0 exponents and negative exponents. These are rules, you have to memorize them. And I'm going to explain why later, as I said. But till now, just memorize them. 0 exponents, anything raised to the power 0 is 1, except when x is 0. I told you 0 raised to the power 0 is impossible. But let me start solving these examples. Suppose I have 100 raised to the power 0, so this is equal to 1. Minus 2 raised to the power 0, so this is also 1. Why? Because here the negative is included in the 0, okay? But if I have minus 5 raised to the power 0, notice that here the 0 is only for the, what? For the 5. So I keep the minus outside. What's 5 raised to the power 0? 1. So you will end up with minus 1. Please pay attention to this. And 1 raised to the power 0 is 1. Billion raised to the power 0 is 1. All right, now moving on to negative exponents. Suppose I have x raised to the power minus m. This is the general rule. This is equal to 1 over x raised to the power m. But please keep in mind also here, x cannot be 0. Why? Suppose I have 0 raised to the power minus 3, for instance. This is equal to 1 over 0 raised to the power 3. Look, according to the rule, the reciprocal 1 over, and you just remove the sign here, it becomes plus. Now, this is equal to 1 over, now 0 raised to the power, any positive is 0, because 0 times 0 times 0 3 times gives me 0. pay attention that this is the denominator. I cannot have a 0 in the denominator. Why? Because this is equal to 1 divided by 0. Remember, fraction means division. So when you do this, the Kung Fu method, you put the 0 here and the 1 here. Can I have a number? If I multiply it by 0, it gives me 1? Never, it's impossible. That's why I told you you cannot have x here equal to 0, all right? So this rule will work, but x should not be 0. There's a condition, and similarly, there's a condition, sorry. And similarly here, the same thing. And I'll explain this as we move on in our lesson. So what is 2 raised to the power minus 3? This is equal to, so look, you apply the rule. So this is equal to 1 over 2. Okay, this is my x. I copy it as is, 2. And instead of minus m, I write m. So what is my minus 3 becomes 3. So this is equal to 1 over, now what's 2 raised to the power 3? This is 2 times 2 times 2 by the definition of exponent. So this is 1 over 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So it's 1 over 8. And please keep your answers in fraction. I don't want to see decimals. Now, moving on to the second example. Now I have minus 2, all of it raised to the power minus 3. This is equal to 1 over minus 2. All of it raised to the power 3. You see, now here, what is my x? My x is minus 2, so I copy it as is here, and I just change the signs of the m. Here, minus m, here m. So here minus 3, here becomes 3. So this is equal to 1 over minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. Now, if I solve this, minus times minus is plus. But plus times minus is minus. So you will get 1 over minus 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So 1 over minus 8 or minus 1 over 8. Okay? And why? Because remember, when you have a negative, you can write it down, or you can write it up, or you can write it beside it. But suppose I have this example now. Minus 2 raised to the power minus 3. So here, this exponent is only for the 2. So I keep the minus outside. I don't work with it, this minus. I copy it. Then what's 2 raised to the power minus 3? It's 1 over 2. X is 2 and m is minus 3, so it becomes it becomes 3 equal to minus 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 1 over 8.